Good morning, ball watchers. Welcome back to the show. Just me here, Jake, today, doing this full recap of City's first away win of 2024. Just coming a tad too late in September 21st of 2024 when the season started back for us back in late Feb, early March. So it's been a tough go, obviously, for the team here on the away front, but we got it. We shook the demons, we exercised them, we got the away win last night. Just with a little disclaimer or a asterisk per se that San Jose did have the worst home form heading into this matchup. But again, I don't think we can be too picky and we can take it and relish in it as it is if you're St. Louis City this morning. So happy Sunday to everyone tuning into the show. If you're listening now, whether that's live with us or later on podcast or YouTube, make sure you throw us a like and throw us a subscribe down below on YouTube. We just hit and surpassed the 1,000 subscriber count. So thank you so much to you all for being awesome supporters. And if you're on the podcast forums, rates, reviews, anything you can do to help us get out to more people like you that enjoy this type of content and love St. Louis City, please be sure to do so. Thank you for a little plug to start us off. Kevin, I see you in here in the comments to start. You're going to catch the Arsenal Man City game today. Also, note the time, Kevin. Of course we are. Got a huge matchup with title implications for the Premier League going on in just about an hour at time of recording here as Arsenal take on Man City. I'm also kind of expecting to see Jorginho in this game again. It's great to see him don the captain's armband for the North London Derby last weekend against Tottenham, where they got the dub there. And it's just cool to see a guy that we were able to speak to here on the show be able to, rep such a massive team here worldwide and be able to lead them to victory. So awesome to see Jorginho getting some minutes there, and hoping for the best for the boys here coming up. But this is a St. Louis City show, and I want to focus on this for the recap here. So let's start from the top. So my kind of take on the starting 11. So we saw Berkey in net. We saw Horn maintain his spot at left back, Hebert at left center back. Yarrow comes in for the not injured, but just exiting or just at the very end of concussion protocol for Henry Kessler. And then we have Totland get back after 3 games out of the side at right back. We saw Durkin as the solo kind of pivot as a central defensive midfielder. And then we saw a 4 ahead of him of Thor, Hartel, Toykert, and Alm. And then we saw Klaus as well at top. So a little bit of transition there. Obviously a formation change, which really surprised me, frankly, to either, go away from a 4-2-3-1, which we're very known to do, or even a 4-4-2, which we kind of played in the last one. So I was a little bit nervy heading into it, given the formation change. That's a lot of pressure to put on Chris Durkin to sit back on his own and protect the back 4. And obviously, I didn't mention Leuven. So it sounds like Leuven was coming down to it, but in the end, it sounded like just his overall load management was the reason here. Just be precautionary. It sounded like his hamstring specifically had seen a lot this season, and they weren't willing to risk it on the away trips. They left him at home entirely, getting some rest, which I love, especially in hindsight now. We didn't need him for this, but you could definitely tell we missed him, having to see Hartel drop back so deep to receive the ball. I loved what we saw from Totland, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself from some of the player ratings, but it was great to see Alm back in the 11, the starting 11 here. I think you saw what he brings to the table. You saw Thor on the left wing, and a lot more of the same. Obviously, Betcher, unfortunate to miss out here in the 11. I don't think it's a punishment at all for him. I think they were just going to go with something different, and we did get to see him for a pretty extended cameo in this match. So let's talk about the beginning of this match. I mean, it's hard to look much further past than the first 5 minutes, where I think both teams are kind of coming out swinging, and we get off on the right foot with an early goal, which was incredible to see in the first 5 minutes. In fact, in the 3rd minute, 4th minute here. So I'm going to kind of play for anyone watching on YouTube some of the lead into this goal, because I think it's important. It starts with a Horn throw, just about maybe halfway between the midline and the end line, so the center circle and the goal line for soccer. He throws it into Hartel. or sorry, Klaus, who does a good job to kind of hold up play with a guy, breathing down his back, lays it off to Hartel, who makes an excellent touch, and then an outside of the boot kind of pass through for Horn, who, looks up for a brief second, plays a long, low, hardly hit ball to an on running Alm, who's kind of making that near post run, where Toikert's kind of making that delayed run into the box, ending up right around the PK spot. Alm, this is looking like last week's goal a little bit too with the Klaus dummy for Betcher. Sorry, not even last week. That was New England. But the dummies are getting very common in this team. I wonder if that's something we can expect to see more of here. But Alm runs onto it, just runs over it, baits in two defenders with that. No one's keeping an eye over their shoulders for Toikert, who's the late comer into the box, who has basically an open goal. Not an easy one, obviously, to finish, all the time, but he just keeps his foot, stands over it, keeps it down low, and just powers into the far corner. Yarborough, the goalkeeper for San Jose, no chance. And we're on the board literally as the clock strikes the 3rd minute. It's a really good start for this team on the road, but I said as much during, the discourse for the game, and just looking at all of the, as the game kind of transpired, I'm like, we've seen this story before, guys. We've been here, we've done that. I don't know if I feel totally confident just because we're up, 3 minutes into the match, this team's going to close it out. But love to see it. Great start from the team. City up 1-0, 4 minutes in. We piled more pressure on in the game as well, especially in the first half. I saw in the 7th minute, Horn had an awesome through ball to Hartel after Berkey did a little quick distribution out to him. He left it off for Thor, who was kind of stretching to get to it, who laid it off just behind Klaus. And in this type of instance here, you've got Thor, who made a hard run. Hartel did all the dirty work for him. And he's now got two options. He's got a kind of a tightening angle at the near post to either let a shot fly, either tighten the near post or whip it around into the far post, or he can lay it off to Klaus. He picks obviously the Klaus option, and in doing so, he left him kind of behind. So when you're playing that ball to someone that's on rushing with you, you want to lead them, or at least find them square in their body so they can kind of, not waste any time on a touch and be able to nestle that wherever they want to. So Thor leaves a little bit to be desired in that final ball where it's on Klaus's back foot on his left. So he's reaching for it as he tries to one-time it into the near post. He goes wide. People were harsh on Klaus. I do think he has to do better there, regardless of the ball that gets laid off. But Thor, it's the margins for me with this team. And that's one where you just got to have better in that moment. To go up 2-0 in the 7th minute, that for me is taking the game by the chokehold. And you're putting San Jose in a really tough spot there. And what do they do to respond? A couple minutes later, long ball in for Klaus, who takes a great settle, flicks it over for Hartel. Hartel draws a little bit of contact just at the top of the 18. No call originally. Play is allowed to continue on. And, as it gets maybe 30 or seconds so after that, VAR has a whistle into the referee in his earpiece and says, hey, you got to go back and take a look at that. I watched the VAR sequences. I watched the video. I definitely do think there was contact. I definitely think Hartel is a type of professional where when he feels that, he's not gonna be a hero here. He's gonna go down if he feels that contact anywhere in and around the 18, which a lot of good professionals do. And it's tough, right? Because it's not like a clear, blatant, he runs right through Hartel or he kicks right through the back of him, but he does make contact. It looks like and sounds like with around the ankle area with Hartel, enough so where the ref is actually going back to the monitor and reviews his decision and overturns it. Like we said, a lot of the times when VAR messages into the referee, the center referee, to take a look back at that and then go to the monitor, that usually means that there's going to be a transition here, or they're going to turn that call or flip that call. So we get it flipped, and Hartel, just like he created that goal, gets a nice little PK. Yarborough, the goalkeeper for San Jose, is doing all the antics, right? He's clapping the gloves, he's hitting the post, he's like standing off center, baiting, one way or another. Hartel does not care at all. He, steps up, does a little stutter, totally throws Yarborough off the scent, gets him off the line, moving one way, and Hartel just coolly sends it right into the far post side netting, way away from Yarborough. He had no chance. Now you're up 2-0 in the first 15 I mean, what a great start for this team. Things are going really well. We're finding chances. We've got 2 goals to show for it. In the 24th minute, we have to make a sub, though. And I do think the sub kind of changes things. We knew Durkin was a little bit questionable heading into this match with some, a knee contusion or some sort of knee inflammation from the last match. And Watts comes in as a direct replacement. Really confused there, quite honestly, on the Watts replacement. You would think that JGR, Jake Gerwood Reich, would be the natural replacement given the minutes he's been seeing recently in that position. Wasn't to be. So they throw Akil Watts in. We've seen that experiment before. I've never been a huge fan of it. Considering the formation change, that one right there in front of the center backs and the back four, that's a big position to play. And I think he left some to be desired after his coming on, but all in all, it wasn't awful from Akil Watts. And I think he was put in a really tough position there with that early substitution. Berkey comes into the match a couple minutes later, point blank save on a cutback cross that was low and hard at him in the center of the goal. Good strong hand on it. Called into action a couple minutes later as we get to the half-hour mark where Watts costs up the ball just outside our 18 in a position where you just can't do that. Leaves the attacker one-on-one with Berkey, who makes an amazing, just kind of quick blast save, just parries it over the top of the crossbar with a great reaction. So San Jose starting to knock a little bit there. And in the 40th minute, as we're getting just to a couple minutes before halftime, you've got to see this half out. Going up 2-0 is a hell of a lot more different than going in up, 2-1. So San Jose gets on the board in the 40th minute. So I want to break this one down on sharing screen as well. So if you're with us on YouTube, this is hopefully a good amount of value for you all because we love breaking these down like this. But essentially what happens is San Jose has got some possession, but nothing incredibly meaningful. They're just past half field. We're engaging with them. Nothing too overly intense yet. And they just have a really good team moment here where how I see it here is we're shaping up. We've got, unfortunately, here, if you're watching my screen with me, Hartel and Horn, left back and left mid in this case, are inverted. Horn is kind of pull a little bit further upfield than Hartel is. You don't love to see that given where Hartel likes to play. And with that, lack of know-how, I think, in that position or just lack of awareness, what happens is that they stay like that. And Hartel is now playing left back in the moment right now. And a runner who I'm highlighting with my cursor here is now running in behind, the space between Hebert and the space between him and Hartel. Hartel is not tracking him. A ball comes into Hebert's marker, who does well to hold him up, but he does a one-time beautiful little flick right around Hebert's. Now, Hebert's caught out of position. He's dragged upfield. This runner's in behind. Hartel didn't track him. He knows. You can see the body language. He knew that was his guy in the moment. There, Yarrow closes down the runner, but the Hebert's tracker who had played the ball is just now ahead of him in Bobase, and that cutback is perfectly weighted for him. It's a good finish near post. Berkey, nothing he can do about it. But I do think a lot we can do about it from a communication and sort of formation perspective. You hate to see situations where you have your attackers that are not known for their, defensive abilities being caught in those positions. But it's, fair play to San Jose. That's a good team goal. It's a gut punch for us because, again, 2-0 versus 2-1 is miles different in the locker room. A couple of general things I saw heading into this one, into the halftime here, was Hartel, like I said, was having to drop super deep to get into this game and find the ball to help us progress and break lines in the midfield. That's what happens when you miss a guy like Leuven and when you only have the trust, in that midfield pivot of a Akil Watts in this case, and it was Durkin before him. So I think we were really struggling to advance at times, but Hartel was dropping deep, looking to, find the space for his teammates, either play the space where they should be or play them, with a good, solid, fizzed in pass, to their feet. Thor, I didn't think, or I saw really great things from him in the first half. I think he was lacking a little bit of confidence, playing a little bit safe when you don't necessarily want that all the time from a winger that has some of the qualities that he has. Toland, God, we missed you, man. Where were you? I was so excited to see him back in the right back spot. He plays with so much confidence. He looked good last night. He looked really good up and back. And I'm going to get to that a little bit later on here, but it started to kind of feel towards the end of this half. And I think it was the writing on the wall for the second half where we kind of got frustrated in trying to advance with possession and we ended up just kind of lumping it long a lot. And I do think that ended up a lot of turnovers. We won some second balls here and there, but it felt a little bit lazy for us to, get up 2-0 and then still nurse a 2-1 lead and kind of give up our game plan of advancing with possession and poise. So second half comes along. We see a halftime substitution. Reed comes on for Horn. I thought Reed was going to start in this match. It wasn't, and I thought Reed actually played well, and so did Horn. Obviously, playing that ball in the first goal. But the game goes on. It's a little bit quieter in the second half. Let me be totally honest with you all. For both teams, frankly, it's not like San Jose was peppering us, and we did not have, I don't think, a shot on goal the entire second half. So 53rd, I have a little low high here where Totland botches the handling of a cleared corner kick. He's the last man back. San Jose is attacking with numbers now. You're feeling it. It's like, here we come. This is the equalizer right here. Toland does a great job to cut out that final ball, hits a big switch, and we move forward again. So that recovery defense, it was really solid last night in that moment for him, and that could have gotten a lot worse for us. We saw more subs with Klaus and Alm head out for Betcher and Indy in the 57th minute. In the 75th, Berkey was in great position after San Jose hit a diagonal kind of stretch ball and carried into the box for a quick shot. So Berkey keeping us in the game here with his third save, I believe, of the match. And then best chance for us finally came in the 78th to get some insurance and put some more distance between us and San Jose, where there was a throw put back to Totland, who eluded his defender and skipped along the end line and tried to cut it back for Indy, who had a bullet of a shot. You could tell he just caught that sweet, and it got deflected out for a corner kick. And that was the best one for us. Again, no shots on goal in the second half. I really thought we struggled in the second half. It wasn't like a comfortable seeing out of the game, but it wasn't uncomfortable either. It was somewhere right in the middle, right? Where I think we'd like to have insurance. We'd like to know that we're going to see this out. But I don't think we were getting peppered either defensively. So I do want to give a shout to the defense. I think they did a lot of their job, a lot of the hard work to see out this game, as we saw Thor come out for Jake Gerwood Reich for the final 10 or so minutes. Betcher driving the ball, progressive carries, pushing his shot wide. Berkey made a huge cutout on a low fizzed in hard cross. Hebert there for the clearance as we hit the 90-minute mark. And 90+1, my kudos to the team. This is where I kind of did finally feel a little bit comfortable. I mean, obviously, we have 2 minutes left in the game with stoppage time, and we are showing signs of poise, comfortability, know-how, nous, whatever you want to call it, where I saw Betcher had a sequence where he held it up in the corner. Some young guys might want to go into the box and attack and look for that third goal for us in this case. Other guys that know how to win games, that know and have logged serious minutes in their belt, they know to just go wide. You don't need that goal. The other team needs to advance 120 yards up north, and you're not going to let them do that. So he sits in the corner, fights off his attacker, trying to win the ball. He draws a corner there. Awesome stuff. Totland, doing another simple thing of just, you hear it in grade school. When you're winning a game, you can't get possession, but you got to just twist the cap and relieve some pressure. Just play it down the line, behind the defense. Make them turn around with the ball and beat us moving forward. Just simple, small things last night. Margins, once again, those margins, we're doing it. So I love to see a little bit of poise last night. That's just not something that, unfortunately, that we've been used to with this team since we, became a team last year. So I loved, the very kind of tail end of that sequence in the second half. Just some general things to talk about in the second half. I thought Yarrow had a really strong match coming in, pretty much out of the ice box. He was winning headers. He was winning duels. Yeah, he's due for his couple of giveaways here and there, but I thought he played strong. I thought Hebert played pretty strong next to him. Hebert, a little bit for me, struggling at times to advance with that single kind of pivot we were playing with and making that safe pass to Berkey a lot. Berkey probably had, one of the top games in terms of touches last night for him, which is kind of a meh thing. You don't love it. You don't necessarily hate it either. He's a safe, set of feet to have that ball at, and he can bring some good chances. We gave the ball pretty cheaply in the middle of the second half a lot. A lot of long balls, like I said, where we couldn't win that first one, couldn't get the knockdown either. And we just kind of felt like we were coughing up to San Jose. I really did feel at times like they had that equalizer coming here. But again, we had that offensive spark finally at the very end of the second half where we had to keep them honest. When you're seeing a game out like that, San Jose is throwing numbers at you. They're throwing chance creation at you. As a defense, you're kind of just shelling up and going with the blows. As an offense, you've got to give an outlet. You've got to be able to keep San Jose honest and say, hey, if you guys press too many numbers up, we're going to push you back and we're going to create chances on the other end through counters. And we didn't have that until the very, very end. And I do think it kind of threw a wrench in San Jose's plans of just dumping pressure on us like we see teams do towards the end of games for us. So I loved seeing that to keep them honest. And I think that comes with quality, that comes with depth and your substitutions. And a guy like Betcher, I think, was really doing that last night and forcing Yarborough to be honest. But again, no shots on goal. I think we just had to keep the defense honest for San Jose. Looking at the stats, it's a mixed bag for me. There's a lot of blue for San Jose. There's some red for City, especially on the defensive side. I think it was a pretty evenly matched game throughout. I thought that, our XG, if you look at just expected metrics here, I mean, we're obviously blown out of the water with that because of the PK, which is, 0.73, 0.75 usually. But otherwise, I think our chance creation kind of really, really did not suit us well. I mean, especially in the second half, we were dead. There was nothing going on moving forward. So it was unfortunate it wasn't a complete performance last night, but it was enough. And we haven't been used to seeing that this season. So I think enough somehow we can just take in this one, obviously take the away points, of course, but defensively, we maybe showed a different side of us last night. So I think it was a good thing. Steven, I seen in the comments here, you said, as you said, being evenly matched against worst team in the league is telling. No, it is. I mean, we're in a position where we are for a reason, right? Sitting in 13th or 12th or whatever the hell it is now. And San Jose being now guaranteed mathematically the wooden spoon winners, meaning the worst team in the MLS this season. When you're on the road, I do want to go back to this. You have to do your best not to lose, but you have to win your games at home. We haven't really done either of those this season. We've lost a lot of games on the road. We've also drawn a lot. And then at home, we haven't been a fortress like we were last year. So for me, yes, it is telling to say that we played a pretty even match against the worst team in the league. But I don't think San Jose was too much to laugh at either. I mean, I think they played pretty hard. Did anyone catch this Hernan Lopez, I believe, from San Jose? Unbelievable player. I mean, this young, I believe we said Argentinian in the preview. That guy wanted it, and you can tell. And he just oozed with quality. He played centrally underneath Bobase all night. But that's a guy that I feel like, yeah, he's worth 5 or 6 million, and San Jose's got a really special one here. I really do think he was solid last night. Like, I'm looking at our team, I'm like, there's not many guys that just want the ball like that and that can do the things that he does. So I've got a little bit of jealousy over here in the morning. But yeah, drawing or having a close game against the worst team in the league is never great. But on the road, I think it does mean a little bit more. So I'm going to give credit where credit's due, and so that's why I make that point. Player performances. Our heart and soul of the team. I'm going to go against the grain here. I think a lot of people would say Hartel, maybe even Teukert for his finish, but I'm going to give it to Totland. 3 successful dribbles. I'm going to start on the attack side. 3 successful dribbles, 3 touches in the opposition 18, second most touches on City as a team, and 7 passes into the final third. Those are all attacking metrics. Very solid showing for Thomas Totland. I mean, very, very solid, especially kind of being on ice for the last couple games. Going defensively, he had the most defensive actions in this game with 14, and that includes interceptions and blocks and clearances. He also won 6 of his 9 duels. I thought he was a weapon for us, and he played so confidently last night. So I don't see a world in which there's any sort of debate anymore at right back. We saw so much of this earlier in the season. I think fatigue, time, maybe some niggles or some small injuries here and there probably held him back, but Totland's good. I want to see him, play as many games as possible. And then the end of this season, who really cares as much? But I mean, like next year, you've got to obviously see that is his position. So that's the heart and soul of the team. Overall, I think the Hoffman brothers starting 11 was solid last night all the way around, and so are our friends at Hoffman Brothers. Obviously, it's Sunday morning. It's pouring down rain out here. We're finally getting the cool off from the weirdly lasting heat that has been in St. Louis since September. So I'm glad to see that go. I'm happy to see us start to kind of creep into some of the cooler times, which I love in St. Louis, but you don't love them if you don't have the right heat in place. If those temps start to dip below into the 50s, 40s, that house is going to be a little cold, a little creaky at night. So make sure you get your furnace, you get all of your ducts and everything checked out ahead of the fall and winter as St. Louis begins to transition us into the fall slash winter, or whatever St. Louis wants to call it, because it's different every week, I swear. But your friends at Hoffman Brothers are always there for you to make sure that you can keep pace with that. So make sure you give them a call at 314-664-3011 or visit them online at hoffmanbros.com. So moving into the final kind of piece for me here with you all on this Sunday morning is we predicted wins here. Justin and I did. And that's rare, of course, for us on the away side this season. But I predicted 4-1 win with City Moneyline as my official Grahammer. Obviously, I cashed the Grahammer there. And Justin predicted a 3-2 win, so a tighter affair. And his bet was City over 2.5, which, man, 50 minutes into the game, you've got two. Not to get a third there is a gut punch for him. So I think overall, Justin and I speak for him. We were pretty excited about this. I think we expected it, right? I think it's a benchmark where you meet expectations. I don't necessarily think we exceeded expectations with that win last night, but again, that's a feather in our cap that we haven't had all season. So I, for one, am excited about it, and I think it's this team hopefully making some semblance of progress, and progress that we're seeing way too late on in this season. But again, I'll take it as a notch in our cap to head into the off season with. So that's all I have for you all today. It was a good match, and now our eyes turn towards Sporting Kansas as they come home to roost at City Park here. It's been a while since we've seen them at home, and it just kind of feels like it's been a while in general, but they have now been, I believe, mathematically eliminated with our win and their result last night. So obviously they don't have much to play for at this point. Neither do we. But I do think both these teams will treat this as if it's a cup final, a knockout game, something that's super important, given how our series has gone this season, being so tight with ties. So it's going to be an important one. Obviously, we all feel good about a win. We all feel even better about a Sporting Kansas win, especially when it's at home. So I know the vibes are going to be insane as we head into a nice weathered week here in St. Louis, and we drum up the rivalry, the barbecue, the soccer capital clash, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure the banter, I'm sure the vibes are going to be so much fun this week as we lead into this one. But we've got this one done, and now we're heading towards our favorite fixture, the one that everyone's had circles in their calendars for the entire year. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped here on ball watching, and we'll be back with you all for a full preview of that showdown coming up here very, very soon, probably in the midweek. And until then, hopefully you all just enjoy this Sunday. Obviously a little bit rainy and bleak outside, but we can be happy about a result last night. Maybe not a whole performance, but a result. And it's honestly been a lot of the inverse a lot this season. So I'm happy to get back in that win column, even as ugly as it can be sometimes with this team. Needs to be able to grind out, though. So hopefully we're learning a lesson here and turning a page. But a lot of hoping, a lot of good vibes on the show here on Sunday. Someone's going to bring it to you. Well, everyone enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we will talk back with you on Wednesday for a full preview of the duel with Sporting Kansas. Let's go, team, and all for City.